Hey guys, this is Moshe, the Electric Israeli. I'm actually at my home. It is pouring rain outside and windy, and there's a hurricane coming in the next few days. So it's just not a pleasant day to drive. Otherwise, I would and do my videos from there. But in today's video, I want to really in-depth comments and not analysis, but sharing with you my thoughts about Elon Musk's discussion. I don't even call it an interview. Discussion with Joe Rogan. It was really interesting and fascinating. Just for full disclosure, I saw the entire podcast, 2 hours, 37 minutes and 2 seconds, from beginning to end. I did some stops because I have things to do, but I did listen to the whole thing. And what unfortunate to me is that a 5-second clip of Elon Musk trying out taking a puff from a tobacco marijuana joint that Joe lit, and that made headline. The stock went down by $17, 6%, and all hell broke loose, and the world was going to be over. Well, as of today, the stock is back almost $16, and things are going to go well. But I want to share with you, as a person, as a human being, as an educator, as a doctoral student, as a person who read books or who experience the world, been in many countries around the world, who know a lot of people from all walks of life because of my life experience and what is it that I do and what I did in my life, that interview, that discussion with Joe Rogan was by far one of the most interesting things that I saw. And there you saw Elon Musk, when he, I don't want to say let his guard down, but really the real person, the real human being, they're talking, having a little drink, and really came out. I just want to ask you to indulge me. This is usually my videos are 6 to 10 minutes, no more. This one may be a little bit longer. Maybe you can pause it and come back later, but hear me out. I really want to share with you my thought, not as the Electric Israeli, the person that you used to see during my videos, but as just a person who concerns about the world, about humanity, a person of faith, a person of community service, community work with children, and all that. And I want to tell you that they talked about many issues, a range of issues, and I highly recommend that you take your time and watch the whole thing. I'm going to put a link below for the entire interview, and I really want you to take your time and watch it, not at once because it's long, but over a couple of days you can do it. It's very interesting. And there, Elon Musk, the person, the human being, not the entrepreneur, not the scientist, not the Tesla CEO, SpaceX CEO, a person who really is concerned about where humanity goes. And the issues that they talked about range from artificial intelligence, from the catastrophic experiment that humanity is doing in terms of releasing so much carbon into the atmosphere, digging it from deep in the ground and releasing it to the atmosphere. From the judicial system, I think his comments about the judicial system was absolutely fascinating. And of course, how human beings are very close to taking over, so to speak, taking over the role of God and making decisions that can change the world beyond belief. Talked about multi-planet worlds, that humanity lives in many other planets, and many other range of issues. And it really was him, the person. He traveled around the world and tried to convince governments and other companies and entrepreneurs and scientists of how dangerous AI can be. Now, AI is artificial intelligence. AI is not necessarily the end of the world, but misuse it could lead to something cataclysmic, because human beings are known to use advanced technology to destroy each other. I mean, the 20th century was the was probably the most advanced century prior to all of those, to all the centuries before. Obviously, the 21st century, I've surpassed it already. But the 20th century was the age of technology, the age of medicine, breakthrough in all aspects of life, and yet it's one of the most violent centuries in human history. Over 100 million people died in world wars and genocides and all that. So human beings have that tendency to use advanced technology and weaponry and all that to destroy people. And imagine if they have artificial intelligence. And the discussion revolves around the idea of increasing your cognitive capacity to levels that human beings in their biological form cannot even touch, cannot even reach. That there will be some kind of an interface, some kind of a format, a computer format that will get us into a level of God, basically. That things that we are shameful now will be irrelevant in that reality or future. That gaming, virtual reality will be all intermixed with what is reality now. Me talking to you right now, it will be all together, and you will not necessarily know which one is which, and they will be all encompassed. Where human being can in their AI form can virtually live forever. And imagine if 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion people decide to do that. What that will do to humanity and to and how humanity is going to advance. And you know what? I read a lot of books. I want to recommend to you a book. I read it in Hebrew, but it is in English. I give you the name. It's Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Professor Yuval Noah Harari. He's Israeli. He actually is in Canada. His books translated to many languages. I read most of his books, and it's a book about tomorrow's history, and it's it's very interesting, but it could be very scary of what we can do. And I think that discussion was extraordinarily interesting. Elon Musk was revealed as a very compassionate man, a man who thinks that love is the most important thing. Love can solve a lot of problems. He is very disappointed that not enough or any scientists are in politics. He could not get through to the politicians about the dangers and the importance of regulating AI before it's too late. He was actually very interesting by saying that a few mayors in China are scientists, physicists, and environmental scientists, and he really would wish if more scientists would run politics. That would have been great. He praised the judicial system and how judges are by far fair and really interpret the law. He gave examples of the bogus and the weird lawsuits that were brought against Tesla. He gave one example about this guy who fell asleep in a Tesla and hit a cyclist, killed a cyclist, and then he decided to sue Tesla on the basis that the car smell made him fall asleep. I mean, things like this. And he said he noted how Tesla wins cases due to the fairness and the impartiality of the judicial system. He talked about that he's completely disconnected from social media, except for Twitter, which he uses as a way to communicate with his followers and his his customers, or with the world basically. And he cited specifically Instagram, how Instagram is a very false reality where people use it's extremely popular, where people use their picture or videos to show a fake happy side, when in reality it's not really a happy people. And he encouraged people to interact in a biological, in a natural way. I can tell you in my school that I run, all students are required to deposit their cell phones at the office for the rest of the day. We believe in social, but not the media part of it. Not that because I think iPhones or computers are not important, they're extraordinarily important. They're extension of ourselves and they make us better and smarter people. But the social part is incredibly important to be interacting naturally with people. So we say the true things, so we less mean, because it's much easier to be mean on social media. I can tell you stories about students and parents and families and even suicide incidents that happened due to social bullying on social media. He talked about how difficult it is to run a car company, that the only two car companies in the history of car companies in the United States who did not go bankrupt but came extremely close by a thread, by the skin of their teeth, is Ford and Tesla. Now, obviously, Ford exists for over 100 years, and Tesla is a little over than 10 years, so it's not a good comparison. But the fact is that these two have not declared bankruptcy yet. You never know what's going to happen, how difficult the car manufacturing business is. He talked about his anxieties and stresses about accelerating the adoption of electric cars, and how important to remove gasoline cars off the road before it's too late. He talked about the unanimous agreement among all scientists of how climate change is affecting humanity and how it is man-made. There is no doubt about it. There's no second opinion. It's settled science. It's known. And how dangerous this experiment of releasing so much carbon into the atmosphere. And that's why he invests so much of his time and effort into producing more and more electric cars. He said that Tesla cars are like much more than just vehicles, and they can do so many great things that people are not even aware. And really how anxious he is to really accelerate the adoption of electric cars, and not necessarily Tesla. That electric cars will basically take over. He talked about the capabilities of autonomous driving and autopilot. He really in an accident that occurred between a Tesla driver and a bicycle rider that ended up with that rider being killed. It gave him the incentive to release autopilot as fast as he could at that time, and to continue to improve it, because it is a great safety mechanism that reduces car accident significantly. And if you go back to AI and have the frustration in this with government regulations that usually take 10 years, he talked about how long it took for the government to regulate seat belts, which significantly reduce the fatalities in car accidents. But still, it took such a long time for the change to happen. Just like now, if you remember a few years ago, all the lawsuits against Tesla in different states that they had to sell cars through a dealership model, which is stupid and nonsense. And how slow things happen, and we don't have that luxury in that time to wait for government control and regulation when it comes to artificial intelligence. And that's so crucial and important. And since his interview, there's so much written about it. I've been reading about it in business magazines and online blogs about this whole issue that he brings up. And most importantly, about him as a human being and his difficulties in falling asleep, because it's just people like this don't come around very often. His mind is racing through creating and having a million ideas that he wants to bring into practicality. For example, tunnels as a mean to solve mega cities traffic problems, and how easier it is to build a tunnel, how easier a tunnel will be than flying cars, for example, 3-dimension versus 2-dimension. So my point is of this is that it's very sad that the focus was on that one time that he took a puff. Please believe me, I can do a whole video about smoking weed. I mean, I don't. I used to. I don't. And I'm not judging anything against anybody. It's not something that does anything for me, from what he said does anything to him. I mean, a person that has a lot of ideas and is very hyperactive, the last thing that he wants is to smoke pot and chill and relax. These people need to produce and achieve. This is the opposite of what they need. A stimulus, not something that will make them go back, lay back. So I highly recommend that you watch the whole thing. I really do. It's really an awesome revelation about him as a person, as a human being, not as anything else that you known to be. He's really not guarded. He's just who he is, and that's fascinating. And we need more people like this who don't just think and make designs and put them in some kind of a shelf to collect dust. He is a person who implements. What he did in 10 years is equivalent to the light bulb revolution. It's incredible the achievement. All right, so this is my take. I mean, I can go on for an hour if you want, but I think it's enough. But I like I said again, watch it and let's have a discussion. I would love to hear your thoughts and your take of the words that he said or my comments, and that would be really interesting discussion. So I know it's a little bit different video today than usually is, but I thought it would be appropriate for me to share with you my thoughts. So thank you everybody, and I'll see you next time.